In the book of Daniel 9:24, it states that from the issuing of the decree to rebuild Jerusalem to the Messiah's cut-off means sacrifice, we have appointed 70 weeks. 70 weeks times 7 days in a week equals 49 days, which equals 490 days, which are 490 years according to prophecies. The decrees to rebuild Jerusalem was issued by 3 kings, first by Cyrus in 536 BC, and the second by Darius in 519 BC, and the third by Artaxerxes in 457 BC, and the fourth by the same Artaxerxes in 444 BC, which completed the rebuilding of Jerusalem. But Daniel is referring to the decree issued by Artaxerxes of 457. Christ was said to be 33 years old when he was crucified. So we add 33 to 457, it equals 490, exactly the year that they say that the Messiah would be martyred. It's the same prophecies mentioned in Daniel 9 verse 25, but in different format, which most of the scholars even today consider it to be contradict with the 70 weeks. But according to Abdu'l-Baha, there's no contradiction. It says that the 7 weeks and the 42 weeks. The 7 weeks is the duration of time the Holy Land, the rebuilding of Jerusalem was completed. It took 49 years. That is 7 weeks times 7 days in a week equals 49 days, which are 49 years according to prophecies. For in the book of Number 14 verse 34, it states that a day to the Lord is 1 year. So 62 weeks is the duration of time from the completion of the rebuilding of Jerusalem to the week of the sacrifice took place, which took 434 years. That is 62 weeks times 7 days in a week equals 434 days, which are 434 years according to prophecies. And the week of where the sacrifice took place or the crucifixion took place, which took place on a Friday, which is the last day of the week. So it is a full week of 7 days, which are 7 years according to prophecies. So if you add up all these 7 years and 434 years and 49 years, it all comes together to 490 years, exactly the year that they say the Messiah will be martyred. There is no contradiction. These 2 prophecies are the same, but only that it was in different formats. Now, these are the prophecies of the first appearance of Christ. Now, in Revelation 11, verse 1, it states And was given unto me a reed, like unto a rod. And an angel stood and said, Rise and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and those that worship therein. But for the court without the temple, leave it out, measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and they will tread under foot the holy city for 42 months. The reed refers to a perfect man, and the nature of a reed is that it is pure and clear inside, in order for the beautiful music and melodious music to come from the reed. Note, the music is not from the reed, but from the flute player that blow onto the reed, and that is of God. And the reed is like a rod, and this is the rod of divine guidance that guide his flock. And the angel stood and said, Rise and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and those that worship therein. That is to say, rise and measure and investigate the temple of God, and compare those who worship therein if they are in accordance with the laws of God. And for the temple, and for the court without the temple, leave it, measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. The Gentiles here are the Muslims, that they ruled Jerusalem for 42 months. And without the temple, the court without the temple still today exists. The Al-Aqsa Mosque beside the place where the temple of Solomon was or stood. It still exists today in Jerusalem, this Al-Aqsa Mosque of the Muslims. And they will tread the city, holy city, 42 months, under the foot for 42 months, meaning they will desecrate the holy city for 42 months. The Muslim will desecrate the holy city for 2 months, which is 1260 days. That is 42 times 30 days in a month equals 1260 days, which are 1260 years according to prophecies. The year 1260 of the Muslim calendar is equivalent or correspond to 1844 of the Christian calendar. It was in this year 1844 on March 21st, a treaty was signed called the Edict of Toleration, giving permission for the Jews to return to the Holy Land and end the rule of the Gentiles in the Holy Land, or the rule of the Muslims in Jerusalem. It was signed by Turkey and Britain. Turkey was the headquarters of the Caliphate of the Umayyad dynasty of the Ottoman Empire that ruled Jerusalem at the time, and Britain became the protectorate of Palestine at the time. This same year, 1844, that the precursor, the forerunner of the coming of Baha'u'llah, His Holiness the Bab, declared his mission on 24th of May 1844 in Shiraz in Elam, the ancient name of Persia. Though the year 1260 and 1844 all refers to the coming of the Bab. Now the revelation of Baha'u'llah in Daniel 12 verse 11 state, and for the sacrifice to be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate be set up, we have appointed 1,290 days. These 1,290 days are 1,290 years according to prophecies. The year 1290, count from the declaration of the revelation of Muhammad, is the year 1280 of the Hijrah, the Muslim calendar. The year 1280 of the Muslim calendar correspond to 1863 and 64 of the Christian calendar. It was this year, 1863, on the 21st of April, that Baha'u'llah declared his mission in Babylon, the ancient name of Baghdad, Iraq. And in Daniel 12, verse 12, state, "And blessed is he that waiteth, and come to 1,305 and 30 days." These 1,305 and 30 days, these 1,335 days are 1,335 years according to prophecies. These prophecies is about the ministry of Shoghi Effendi and the establishment of the Universal House of Justice, respectively. In these 1,335 years, according to Abdu'l-Baha, are solar years, and it counts from the beginning of the Hijrah. The Muslim calendar begins on the Hijrah is the flight of Muhammad to Medina, and it begins in 622 AD. So you add 622, you add 1335 to 622, it brings us to 1957, during the time of the ministry of Shoghi Effendi. And it was this year, 1957, the year that Shoghi Effendi ascended to the Abba kingdom. And at that time, we are almost in the mid term of the 10-year crusade that Shoghi Effendi inaugurated in 1953, and which to spread the faith to all corners of the world and establishing local spiritual assemblies and national spiritual assemblies. And that work of Shoghi Effendi, of the goals of the 10-year crusade, will continue on by the stewards of the faith appointed by Shoghi Effendi. These are the hand of the cause of God, and culminate in the election of the Universal House of Justice in 1963, in the presence of 56 national spiritual assemblies. All these dates, the 70 weeks and the 7 and 62 weeks and 1 week, refers to the first coming of Christ. And the year 1260, the year 1260 and 1844 refers to the coming of the Bab. And the year 1280 and 1860, 1280 of the Hijrah and 1863 and 64 of the Christian calendars refers to the coming of Baha'u'llah. And the year 1335, mentioned in the Bible, refers to the ministry of Shoghi Effendi and the establishment of the Universal House of Justice, the two twin successors of Abdu'l-Baha. Thank you, and I wish you well. Whafteilava, manuela whafongfong maimala whasausangu Samoa, soifua.